Well, thank you, Valerie, for coming on and talking to us about herbs and I guess fertility years, because we're going to talk not just pregnancy, but preconception and postpartum as well. So you are in Prescott, and how long have you been in the birth world?
Well, really in the birth world, since I had my first baby 40 years ago, and then really actively helping other women for about the last 30 years. I've had the interest since I've had my third baby in 1983 to be a midwife and all the beauty that comes with that, but continue to have babies. So it took a long time before that chapter opened up, but I've completed any birth midwifery school and a lot of other things, a lot of complementary um, I'd say side things as well, placenta encapsulation, a lot of things to do with herbs, tons of stuff to do with the postpartum period. And I train women around the world in all the postpartum healing arts and herbs. So that's super cool.
Yeah, you're one of the people that I thought of when talking about herbs because I was like, I know that you have kind of a passion for herbs and you are just a life learner of herbs and what we can do with them.
Totally. And the beauty of herbs, like we raised all 14 of our children almost exclusively with herbs, homeopathics and herbal medicines and tinctures and cough syrups and everything that we made ourselves. Rarely did we ever go to a medical doctor. Some of the kids never ever had seen a medical doctor in their entire
Hmm.
life. So it's effective. The beauty of herbs is you can see it in all the ways, like from the most gentle thing, like the oh my gosh, flower essences, which are just
Hmm.
the vibration, which actually penetrate deeper than any of the other herbs. So it seems the lightest, but in a way, it's more of a constitutional thing. But you have the same herbs there that you have that you will make teas out of or tinctures. And you'll also use the same ones in the homeopathic remedies. And they are used across the board for, ingesting, or you can do like vaginal steams. You can do so many things. And a lot of people will take pill forms of some of the vitamins and herbs and things. But really, when dealing with herbs, you want to start in a very minor, low way because they're very powerful. Like it seems like it's nothing compared to regular pharmaceuticals, which we think of as very potent. But herbs can be super potent, and so you just want to start treat them with respect. And maybe if you, as you're starting to use herbs, use them in the most mild way, like maybe in a tea, before you would jump all the way to a the vitamin, encapsulating your own herbal remedies and things.
I think that's a great place to start too, because I think some people might think that because they're herbs, they're not very strong or they might not be super effective. But even essential oils, we have to be careful because they are potent and dilute them and respect their medicinal purposes.
Totally, totally. So there is another thing, the essential oils. Those are all made from all these different herbs that we can use in so many ways and grow in your garden easily. Or also you can forage around your neighborhood or, in the forest near wherever you're living, that you can get wildcraft herbs as well. There's a lot of things in your area, in your yard, are probably going to be some of the best things to heal whatever you're dealing with. Maybe it's asthma or a rash. The plants in your area are the most effective for you. Yeah, and just the way that we acclimate, just like a little sidebar, to the area that you're in. You walk barefoot on the ground and the all the different things that are going on in there, the microbes set you for that place. And so those herbs are going to be healthier for you than if you get something from Guatemala or, another place. Like they may be an organic herb, but maybe not quite as good as the ones that you'll find in your location. Just like bee pollen or something, for allergies is more effective if you get it in your location. So that's just a little tip.
That's so interesting too, because I don't think that I've probably thought about that and where you get them will be impacting the quality, or not just the quality, but how they impact you personally and
Yeah, like how
where
you
you
want to
are.
absorb them, like the way our cells
Yeah.
are constructed, because they're meant for this area.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It can get really deep when you start seeing how our surroundings and nature do affect us if we just live in harmony in that way. Yeah.
Yes. So, what would you suggest for women who are preconception and wanting to get into herbs to balance their hormones or to uh, give them nutrient dense stuff? Because I know like nettles and stuff
Yeah.
are nutrient dense.
Yes.
What would you suggest that where they start or what things to look for?
Mhm. Well, so there's some excellent herbs to buy in bulk and have on hand as a woman in the childbearing year, like before you get pregnant, during pregnancy, through birth and postpartum. Like the same herbs are super beneficial for you. And so there's herbs like tonics that will like just tonify you, like heal you and bring all kinds of nutrients. And you think of like the regular foods and things that we take in normally. We're devoid of a lot of things, minerals and extra things, especially if we're eating foods that are not organic or, we don't know necessarily how they were grown. You're
Mm-hmm.
missing out on a lot of the essential things that our bodies need to flow smoothly. Like you think of your hair growth or, really strong nails or other, signs of health that you have when you have these minerals. So a lot of the herbs that you can use during this time really are going to build up the woman, build up her blood, build up her uterus, build up her womb area, strengthen her in general, and like calm her nerves and her nervous system to allow her body to want to accept, to be able to carry a baby. But there's a couple of really super good ones. Nettles, of course, you mentioned that. Uterine tonic, general nourisher for all of your blood and your body, regenerating a lot of herbs like a lot of minerals and calcium, different things that really strengthen your kidneys and other body parts as well. Another excellent one, like the number one, if you were going to have only one, red clover blossoms. That is like the woman's magical cure. It's the most useful for establishing a fertile body, just by cleansing and strengthening the womb. Um, yeah, high protein. It has calcium and magnesium in it as well. Um, and if you mix that with red raspberry, which is another good one. So those are like three of the best that you could just take the herbs one at a time, try them in a tea. But then I'm going to talk to you about making an infusion once you know that your body, say you've tried nettles for a week, you've had nettle tea twice a day, every day for 5 days, and there's no reaction and you're feeling really good. Well, then let's move to an infusion. And that would be the best way before pregnancy, or even during pregnancy, the same herbs also. So they're good to have, the whole time, because they will also help you to not hemorrhage when you have your baby, things like that, because they're strengthening and supplying your blood and making the hemoglobin in your blood more accessible. So you have more iron within the body that you have. It recognizes it, makes it more assimilable, I guess you would say. But the red raspberry, especially in conjunction with the red clover, is really good. And then, of course, nettles. If you've seen the herb nettle, it is so rich. You feel like you could just wring the green oil, like spirulina or something out of it.
Oh,
It's
wow.
super, super rich. So, like when you're making a tea, you might let it steep for 10 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes, and you're getting the first aromatic herbs out of that. For an infusion, you make it before bed. So what I would recommend and what I like to do is get a quart jar and put in 1/2 to 1 ounce of the herb. So say just start with one like nettle, and then pour boiling water over it, and then make sure you secure the lid on there and leave it overnight. Next morning, strain it and put it in the refrigerator and just drink it throughout the day. So if you wanted to make it quickly, you don't want to wait, you're eager to get in on it, you want to let it sit at least 4 hours. But overnight is great because you're getting every bit of nutrient out of that herb. And, herbs do end up costing money. So if you can grow them,
Mm-hmm.
like some of the ones I do, it might be 25 bucks a pound or 50 bucks a pound, and
Yeah.
some yarrow and things like that. So, and it takes a lot of herb to make a pound. So, I grow lemon balm, like I harvest and harvest and harvest. And by the time I get on there, it's like, that was a lot of work. And there's my pound, my whole pound, but still. And it actually, lemon balm is more expensive. So I was really happy to be able to grow that. So many of these things you can grow in your garden. Nettles, I did plant it, and I planted it in like a separate greenhouse because they're stinging nettles. And if you get near them, they burn. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually just had somebody comment on that. They live in Michigan and they're talking about harvesting, just foraging. And she talked about stinging nettles, and I was like, oh, I mean, obviously the name stinging nettles, but I didn't didn't equate to that they would actually hurt you when you're
They
trying to
do. Your
harvest them.
skin turns red. I have to wear gloves. Once they dry, they're not so bad. But I wear gloves when I use them because I just forget. Like I'll be pulling a weed and it's like, oh my gosh, don't forget about the nettles. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And this also brings me to a good point for adolescent girls who,
Mhm.
because I had issues in adolescence having consistent cycles.
Yes.
Um, and I always encourage moms, don't put them on birth control. That's not fixing the problem. But this would probably be a great, additive into their diet,
Sure.
especially if they are into teas. I know some people
Mhm.
are not tea friendly,
Right.
but some of us really do enjoy a lot of different teas. So I think just adding that in there, that would probably be a good option
Yeah, because
too.
you can add a few extra things. So maybe you've tried these and your body reacts fine to them. So you have nettle and red raspberry and some red clover. And maybe you'll put a little lemon balm or some rose hips or something in there. And the flavor is like really delicious besides getting
Hmm.
some extra vitamin C and that kind of thing as well. So once you've tried one at a time and you're able to incorporate these in, those are good to rotate, like drink nettle for a week or drink it for a day and the next day red raspberry, next day red clover. Or make, once you know that you can tolerate them, mix them together and just make, a quart of that. And you really, if you could drink 1 to 2 cups of that infusion per day, and it would last a couple of days. So if you made a quart, drink half of it the first day, half of it the second day, and then you could make it again. And it just a routine before you go to bed. Just boil some water, pour it in there, cover it. Next morning, strain it, and you're good to go. So that's
That's
getting in a routine and having a way to make it doable is part of it. It's like you might have the head knowledge, but how am I going to employ this, to make it really
Yes,
usable?
that's always my thing. I end up in bed and then I think about it and I'm like, oh man.
So you're
Um,
talking about fertility and herbs. So let me throw in there because yes, we can ingest them. We can take herbs like comfrey. If you have a broken arm, you can put it on your arm to mend the bone. So there's things that we can do externally. After you have a baby, you can soak, pads and freeze them with herbal baths, things like that. So there's all different ways, but another way is the vaginal steam. So some of you may
mm,
think of that or not, but if you're talking about cycles that are not regular, or you're having really bad cramps, or you have bad hormones, or you're having trouble getting pregnant, or you have cysts or fibroids or any female problem at all I feel like can be helped with the vaginal steam. Like that sounds like a pretty big cure-all, but I've helped women who have endometriosis get pregnant. I've had
mm.
a woman who was going through menopause who'd been bleeding for 5 straight months, put her on some different herbs and she quit bleeding, also got her iron up. She's a different woman and she's on such a health kick now. Like she shows me up, like she is like fanatical because it cured her. She was like
Yeah,
being drained of her blood, like her iron, everything, because she probably had a fibroid and her body's just trying to get rid of it and on this constant cycle of bleeding for months.
yeah,
But it'll melt them away. It'll melt away scar tissue. It helps with prolapse. It helps with weak vaginal floor. Uh, so many things. So I'm a big proponent of that. If you have anything with your cycle or even postpartum, it's very good healing 30 days after not 30 days after, for a 30-day period, a few days after when the lochia is not, you're not bright red bleeding. So maybe like 5 days after you've had the baby, if you can get on a regime of doing this, which is like a spa. It's not a chore. You have time to yourself. And it's a really fun, good thing to do. You can have the music on and, whatever, have your time alone, but it cleans out all the lochia. It takes care of any problems that you had when you were pregnant. If you were struggling with your urinary tract infections, super common when you're pregnant. Or before then, if you're having trouble getting pregnant with endometriosis or fibroids or cysts, a gynecologist, they're going to get in there and cut it out, or they might give you some hormones to fix whatever problem they think needs fixed. And they're barbaric practices that they started on the slaves, a long time ago. It's ridiculous, and that's all
yes.
that women know. But there are other ways, like with the herbs and the vaginal steaming, you can heal so many things. So, just wanted to throw that in.
I think that's super, super cool. I've done it a few times and I should probably do it more because of like prolapse and
Mhm.
a weak pelvic floor. But the one thing that I've heard about it is not doing it while you're bleeding other than postpartum. Is that accurate?
Yes, right. You would go if you were going to do it like you're having cycles and you wanted help with that, you would steam right after your cycle. And if you don't
Okay.
have cycles, like if you're just going months and you don't have a cycle, you don't know when you're supposed to have one, then you maybe start your steaming on a moon, and then steam like 3 days in a row, and then the next moon, so to kind of help your body become regular with the moon. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so it can clean out old debris, which, like a lot of women, when they start their cycle, it's dark blood. So you've had blood that's been retained. That's why you have cramps, and that's why you have hormones. And young
Hmm.
girls, like my daughter at first was just so about young girls also. When she started her periods, like, I don't want to party. I do not want you to make a big celebration. Do not tell the entire family. I want, I just go get me some pads and be quiet. Like, no, no. And so then vaginal steams is a big thing at our house, and they're laying around, and the girls are talking about them. And I thought, hey, we have my daughter Hannah and a couple of other my boys' girlfriends, and Ruby. We should have a little vaginal steam in my, have everybody set up, and we could just have a little party in there. It'd be really fun. And so at first she was like, I don't want to talk about vaginal steams. And then after she started her period, within a few months, started having cramps, and now she's like, okay,
Mm,
I will take the steam. Let's do it.
yeah. And it feels so good though too. I mean, I feel like some women are nervous about it because they're like, "Oh, is that going to burn you?" I'm like, "Well,
You don't
you
want it to be that hot. No.
you still have sensation, like
Right.
no,
Mhm.
if it's too hot, move away, cool it
For
off."
sure.
But it is like when I've done it, it's very luxurious.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's amazing, especially like I had a lot of babies, and my cycles came back 28 days after I had after a birth, and I thought I am super healthy. But in reality, what was happening is my uterus was fatigued. It was tired out. It should hold its blood for 9 to 12 months after having a baby, and I didn't know that. I just thought, look at me, and look how often I got pregnant too. And I am strong, but on the other hand, a break would have been nice. I just thought
yeah.
I was, I didn't know what was going on. But now I know there's certain herbs that for women that do get their cycle back too soon because they've had many babies or for whatever reason, there are herbs that can stop the blood, that make them hold their blood. And there's other herbs where maybe a girl has very short cycles, and you need to encourage the blood to come. So there's herbs that do all of that. It's amazing.
That's so amazing. That's so amazing because, yeah, that is so often talked about. Well, I got my cycle back, 6 weeks postpartum,
Mhm.
and I think it is often women who've had more than one baby. I've seen even a second baby, but definitely more common, I feel like, with women who've had more than
Mhm.
one. Yeah.
Because we're on the go. Then you've got a toddler, and then you've got a new baby, and then you've got the third, and it goes on, and you
Yes.
the rest, which
Yes.
is great. And we get tired out, and we don't want to admit it or take care of ourselves. So
Yeah, I think that's a great point to add to this conversation. Um, what are beneficial for pregnancy? So you said that nettles, that we'd be able to take those throughout pregnancy
yes,
as well.
those are excellent. Yes.
And then I know red raspberry leaf tea, people suggest that for toning the uterus, and there's debate of whether whether it's helpful, and I say, well, it's probably not going to hurt.
Mhm. Yeah, no, it
Um,
strengthens the uterus. It strengthens, the whole womb area. So they're really good. The red raspberry, nettles, oat straw is another really good one. Lemon balm is good. Some have a lot of iron. Nettles have a lot of iron. The ones that have a lot of calcium help when you have cramps and some of the things that go along with pregnancy sometimes. So they can be, just keeping that. You're just getting so many minerals. Your hair gets more luxurious. You just feel healthier. Yeah, it's
mhm.
amazing. And just each one has something special. So yeah, during pregnancy, all of those, yeah, lemon balm tea. Um, yes, so really all the same ones that I've already said are excellent. Mint is always good, especially if you have nausea or heartburn. So you can have some of these base ones and then add in some of the extra if you're having some of the other pregnancy symptoms. I lost you. I can't hear you.
I thought it
Okay,
unmuted.
there
Um,
you go.
what about immediately postpartum? So we're talking about, steaming.
Right.
But what other ones, or maybe they're all the same,
No, no.
would
Well,
be
those
good?
are good to continue to rebuild your blood and things, but there's specific things because after you have the baby, you don't want to bleed too much. You don't want to worry about a hemorrhage. Um,
Mhm.
And if you're fortifying yourself with these herbs, you really don't have to worry about that. A lot of women do. I think that's one of our number one concerns. If we have a home birth, what if we bleed too much? That was always my thing. And I hardly bled at all in any of my births, but I still worried about it. It's just that
Yeah.
thing that you can't control, for sure. So there's when you get technical, it's like, is the placenta out or not? If the placenta is
Hmm.
not out, you might have different herbs. But generally, motherwort is an excellent herb to help just the mom to release the placenta afterwards. And I would use that in a tincture. So the same herbs that you're making your tea or your infusion with, you can make a tincture with alcohol. So get like a pint jar, fill it maybe a third of the way with dried herbs, and then fill it the rest of the way, or at least a couple inches above that, pretty much the rest of the way, because they will expand. So about 3 inches of herbs, and then fill it up with at least 80 proof alcohol, 80 to 100%. I can't take the 100% because it's just ridiculously strong to take it as a tincture. And often after I make it, I'll make a concentrate of the tincture, and then I'll mix it 50-50 with glycerin, which is kind of sweet. So that makes it super easy to take it in a dropper. Other things are for after pains, like cramp bark is super good. White willow is also very good because that's like a pain reliever. That's what they use in aspirin. So
Okay.
yeah, so between a pain reliever and something to help the contractions, to not be so painful afterwards, that would make a really good tincture as well.
Yeah, because I know with Corbin, my third, the afterbirth pains were horrible,
Yes.
horrible, horrible.
Yep.
And I did take After Ease, the
They have
tincture.
those. Mhm. Yep.
Um, but I feel like next time I'm like, holy moly, I'm gonna need that tincture and like drink tea constantly.
Yeah, and have the
Um,
tincture for sure. Yeah, so I make a tincture. And just the other day, some local midwives, they bought a dozen bottles off of me to give to their women. Like, it really helps. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, I guess the tincture you could just use when you know around the clock as you need instead
And
of
some of this is accumulative. So with something like for the after birth pains, like the first dropper full, you may not feel that much. And you would want to take it. Your baby's starting to cry. Oh, you're going to nurse. You know that the cramps are going to start. Take the tincture. The baby starts nursing. Maybe 15 minutes later, take another dose. By the second or third dose, you're going to be feeling really good. So it's not necessarily the first one. It's like automatic. It might take 2
right.
on something like that.
So it's definitely more like the homeopathy and
Mhm.
how that
Yes,
works.
right. Mhm,
Because a
until you
lot
get
of
the
people are
reaction.
like,
Totally.
oh, I just want to pop it like aspirin, and I'm like, well,
Yeah.
that's not how it works.
Right, right. No, and as far
Um,
as that goes, arnica, I give all my ladies arnica right after birth because that's for bruises and muscle pains and like athletic injuries. Like,
mhm,
that's really relevant after having
yeah,
a baby. And I always took it after my birth, and just like kind of just shored me right back up. So that was really
that's
helpful.
that's always great. I love it. Conversation like this, put it into toolbox for next time,
Totally. And then
because each time is different.
one more about the hemorrhage. If you did think that you were hemorrhaging, like everything pretty much always works out normally. But if an instance happened when you were starting to bleed too much or you were worried about that, Angelica tincture would be the one that I would go to, if you really were hemorrhaging. So the others are just kind of preventative. Motherwort, give it to the woman, probably have no problems. Placenta will come out, no extra bleeding. Well, you've had all these tonics during your pregnancy, no worries at all. But if for some weird reason she did bleed, Angelica kind of will take care of that right away.
Awesome. Wow, this so good. Thank you for talking about it and being willing to share your knowledge and your wisdom.
There's just so much information out there, and it's hard to know, and it's a little scary.
Yeah,
So you do want to be cautious, like know which are the herbs that you shouldn't mess with when you're pregnant. But there's enough good ones. If you just focus on those, it'll just increase your health, and you'll feel really amazing.
absolutely. Do you do any herbal classes in your repertoire of
I've
classes?
done them throughout my life for different people along the way, and I've done them for our homeschool groups and people that are interested, and just like you asked me, like, oh, sure, I'll throw something together. And I've done a couple webinars for indie birth and that kind of thing, but that's not my forte. I use it in everything else I do, but it's not like
Yeah.
the one thing. Yeah, but I like My greatest friends are the apothecary ladies here in town. We'll go into that, and it's super fun. I do want to say one more thing, though. Some women struggle with postpartum depression, so placenta
Mm-hmm.
is one thing that will help you. You could either get it encapsulated, or you could have somebody chop it up and freeze it at the birth, and then you could put it in a smoothie or something that you could hide the flavor in, or just take it in small pieces, frozen, and swallow it just like a pill. You won't taste it because it's frozen. So that's one thing. Another one is lemon balm tea is really good for postpartum depression, and
Mm.
blessed thistle leaf tincture is another thing. So, a lot of women don't want to talk about it if they're not feeling that good. They don't even know. I mean, you just kind of slump into something, but just
Yeah.
have a little in your toolkit to know, well, maybe this will help, make you feel a little bit better.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I know a lot of women who struggle with that, and it is hard sometimes to know um, if they are, or, just giving them the tools. Hey, if you are feeling bummed out in the world, here's
Mhm.
a tool for you to just take if you need it.
Yeah.
So that's
Yep.
awesome.
Yep. For sure. Yeah, so I have a little arsenal of herbs in my pantry, and we have the same homeopathic kit I bought for our family at the beginning of 14 kids, like 30 years ago. Same kit, we'd replace them and, add extras and things like that. But
Yes.
and that's back when the kits were like $30. Now they're like $130.
I wish I had one that cheap.
No, seriously. I mean, and that we healed almost everything that came along for 14 kids their entire life. And they just like became stronger and stronger every time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Our kids have only been to the doctor for like frenectomies. So, and that's nothing I can actually do. So, but even with the frenectomy, I used homeopathics to help them through that. So they're awesome,
Yep.
awesome things to have. So thank you so much.
Afraid to even cough in public.
Thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, and I hope that it helps you in the birth world. If you're having a baby, or if you are wanting to have a baby, that this is good information to put in your toolbox. So
Totally. And you can find me. I have a page on Facebook, Mountain Midwife Sacred Birth Services, and then my website is sacredbirthtraditions.com. And sacredpostpartum.net is where you can find all the information about the postpartum training. So depending on where you're listening, your community needs you, and you can get out there and learn belly binding and vaginal steaming and moxibustion and all the herbs and the Ayurvedic foods and all the things that will help the mamas in your community. So check it out.
awesome. Thank you for the resources.
Yeah, totally.